Last year, VOA English launched a brand new TV program called The Correspondents. Now, this is a half-hour show that provides our worldwide audience with an in-depth look at the week's top news stories.
The Correspondents is a roundtable discussion featuring VOA reporters both in studio and around the world. The host of the show is a VOA reporter himself, Mil Arcega.
And I had the chance to chat with Mil about all the gritty behind-the-scenes details of anchoring a live news show. Take a look.
My biggest mission statement really is to make sure that at the end of the day, our viewers, those people who actually tuned in and watched all three segments, come away with a better understanding of some of these issues. And some of them are very hard, very tough kinds of stories that are happening all over the world. And what I'm hoping is that they at least walk away and say, oh, I think I know that story a little bit better. And this is The Correspondents on Voice of America. The Jordanian government executed 2 militants this week.
What are some of the topics you're covering?
We're talking about ISIL. Did ISIL go too far?
This one really seemed to shock to a different level.
You know, after the brutal execution of this Jordanian pilot, did they actually run out of luck at this point? Because Jordan and thousands, tens of thousands of Muslims are now saying, you can't do this to your fellow Muslims. So did they go too far? That's one of the issues we're talking about. And the other issue, of course, is Ukraine, which has not been in the news, you know, a lot, but we're seeing the fighting intensify there, and we're seeing diplomatic efforts actually reaching some kind of a fulcrum here. Something has to give, right?
Ukrainian troops keep a careful watch on who goes in, while families squeeze into cars to leave.
And the other segment, of course, is Ebola. I mean, for months Ebola was in the headlines, and all of a sudden it just sort of disappeared. So we wanted to provide people with a progress report now that measles is sort of overtaking it as the disease du jour. Right. So we are talking about those issues. Those issues affect some parts of the world more than others. It can be a tough balancing act, you know, because you're trying to make sure if you have 3 guests, that each of those people, they have a story, they have something to say. Al Pessin, I guess I want to start with you. You have to make sure that they actually, their voices are heard, because they may provide you with insight that you did not know before. That's what I like about the show.
Right, and every week when you go and you sit down with your team and you talk about what topics you're going to feature, how do you determine what gets the top spot for that week?
A lot of it is dependent really on what stories we are actually actively covering.
Yeah, I've already switched it.
Because Ebola has declined so much.
That awards we broadcast in 44 different languages, so you have to sort of balance that out again. Are we serving our African viewers well by talking about this story? Are we serving our European viewers well? What about our Asian audience? So that ends up being some of the editorial decisions that you have to make. You know, so you try to balance that out. But again, the headlines will always determine what is going to be on the show quite often, right?
If you could identify what for you would be a marker of success for the program, if you could achieve one thing with it, what would that be?
You know what, and this is going to our viewers on The Correspondents. I know we're gaining viewers slowly but surely.
Of course, yes.
I would like our viewers to actually give us more feedback. You know, what are we doing right? Mm-hmm. What are we doing wrong? Tell us what you'd like to see more of.
All right, so a lot of times in the run-up to a show, a lot of hustle bustle going on. Tell us what it's like for you.
It can be like a moving pandemonium, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what it's like.
Yeah, of course.
But because we start so early, we tape at 10 a.m. Because we start so early, a lot of the folks get in there 7:30. And for me, really, it's a lot of last minute, what happened in the news? Did anything change in the headlines that I have to be aware of?
What do we need to adjust?
Yeah, and quite often, and this has happened before, you know, we don't have confirmation of our actual guests. They may be on assignment, right?
Copy that.
So that happens a lot. So every now, some shows are a little bit more hectic than others.
Right.
You're just trying to line up, make sure you have somebody on Skype.
All right, okay, tell him I'll work on it.
Make sure you have those people that are in place already. A lot of it is really sort of administrative kinds of last minute checklists that we do. Most of the planning actually happens a couple of days prior.
Somebody dissolve out, so my camera on 2 and 3, 2, 1, dissolve my cue, animate.
I'm Mil Arcega. For now, so long from Washington.
You know, it really was great to be able to chat with Mil about his show. And it's very true, this point that he makes. He says, you know, that this is a team effort. This is not just about him. You know, he's there to facilitate a discussion. And that's very true with our show as well. You know, you see us up here, but there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving people on around us that make this show happen every week. So.